He was threatened at knife point after being assaulted inside his Santa Rosa home, October 1, 2007. He was beaten for 5 hours by assailants who burned his face with cigarettes, choked him, and demanded $5,000. They threatened to chop off his fingers with a garden tool and put them on ice so he could buy them back for $1,000 apiece. Next, they went after his brother, who was abducted and murdered on March 2, 2008. He had been shot 9 times in the head, neck, and torso.
In the past 10 years, nearly 115,000 Cambodians have left their homeland to come to this country. Adapting to a totally new culture is never easy. But some of the refugees are getting a head start at a camp along the Cambodian-Thai border. ABC's Jim Laurie has been on special assignment.
They will soon be residents of places like California, Minnesota, or Virginia. Cambodians who've waited up to 5 years in refugee camps in Thailand have been finally screened and accepted and are now being taught what to expect in a totally different way of life.
This is my kitchen. What is this? This is my kitchen.
The kitchen, part of a model American home built in the refugee camp for an unusual training program. Funded by the U.S. government and run by 3 voluntary agencies for the past 4 years. For 5 months, these Cambodians are learning the basics.
When you go to America, okay, America, and you go to Thailand, sit here, right? When you finish, stand up. When you finish, you must press this. Where do you watch TV? I watch TV here. You see pictures over here. Then turn off. No pictures.
The biggest problem for today's Cambodian refugees is their lack of education. Nearly 30% are illiterate, even in their own language. And that will make learning the skills needed in America all the more difficult.
In 1979, Rudy Kam and his wife Lean Sin fled from Cambodia's killing fields in hopes of finding a safe life in America. By 1981, they had settled in Santa Rosa, a small quiet town about an hour north of San Francisco, where they nurtured 3 children and toiled tirelessly to support their growing family. However, tragedy struck them once again in 2007, when one of their sons, Terry Au, was kidnapped and tortured by gang members in a conflict over drugs and money. Then in 2008, another son, Vutha Au, was kidnapped and fatally shot 9 times. According to the court records, Vutha Au was shot 9 times and killed in the early morning hours of March 2, 2008. Earlier in the evening, Vutha, Tyrone Tay, and another man, described as Witness 2, had left a party in Sonoma County and were planning to go clubbing. Just before midnight, Tay, who was driving, received text messages from Boonlak Chanfeng, an Asian Boyz gang member. Chanfeng told Tay that Kaun had been looking for Vutha, that Vutha has gotta go, and that they were going to him up. Chanfeng then placed brief calls to the phones associated with Kaune and David Prak, who were at another gathering. Chanfeng then texted Tay and told Tay to drive Vutha to a location outside a pool hall in downtown Santa Rosa. Tay complied. Although there was no direct trial testimony as to what occurred when Tay arrived at the pool hall, Witness 2 made out-of-court statements that were admitted in evidence, stating that he tried to protect Vutha when a group that he did not identify took Vutha. Witness 4, Witness 2's brother-in-law, told a detective that early in the morning of March 2, 2008, Witness 2 phoned him and said, "They got Vutha." Witness 2 did not indicate who they were. Witness 2 had a visible bruise near his eye that morning. At approximately 1 a.m. on March 2, 2008, Park Ranger Jeremy Stinson was on patrol on Highway 1, driving toward Blind Beach. When he was about 250 yards from Blind Beach, he passed a dark sedan going the opposite way. Stinson continued to Blind Beach, where he found Vutha on the ground, with a pool of blood around his head. Stinson checked to see if Vutha had a pulse and found that he did not have one. Stinson contacted dispatch and provided a description of the car he had seen. In response to the information Stinson transmitted to dispatch, a deputy proceeded along Highway 116 to Blind Beach. There, he saw a blue Honda going the opposite way and turned around and followed it. He stopped the car on Highway 116 near Crescent Avenue, about 10 miles from Blind Beach. Once they arrived, the deputies arrested Kaun, who had been driving, Russell, who was in the passenger seat, and the Pracks, who were in the back seat. A detective brought Ranger Stinson to the scene of the car stop. He recognized the car by its taillights. Another park ranger drove along Highway 1 toward Blind Beach at that time and did not see any other cars on the road. At Blind Beach, deputies found 17 shell casings near Vutha's body. All the casings were consistent with being fired from the same gun. Vutha's shirt had been pulled up around his neck. Vutha's shoes and socks were on the ground close to his body, along with 3 dimes. Deputies later searched the area between Monterio at F Street, the parking lot, and Highway 116. About 7 miles from the parking lot, on the side of the road, they found a shirt and gloves. The shirt contained DNA that matched a sample provided by Russell. They also found Vutha's car keys about 8.5 miles along the route. About 1.5 miles from the parking lot, deputies found a 9mm Glock and an empty magazine that was designed to hold 18 rounds. A gang expert, Detective Gregory Wojcik, testified that Asian Boyz was a Crip gang that used the letters ABZ and claimed the corresponding numbers of 1, 2, and 26, or 1226. While being Asian was not a prerequisite to membership, most members in Santa Rosa were Cambodian or Laotian. Detective Wojcik testified that the primary activities of the Asian Boyz were murder, kidnapping, drug sales, firearm possession, burglary, vehicle theft, and assaults on rival gang members. Violent crimes benefit the gang and its members by adding to fear and respect. Numerous law enforcement witnesses testified that all 4 defendants were active members of Asian Boyz. They based this opinion on the presence of tattoos, prior contacts with defendants, and admissions defendants had made. A gang expert, Detective Brandon Cutting, also identified Boonlak Chanfeng as an active Asian Boyz member. Chanfeng was known as Short, or Little Shorty. Preston Cohn went by the moniker Crippen, while Sarath Prack went by Little Cuz, and David Prack went by Canine. Terry Au, Vutha's younger brother, testified that he sold marijuana and methamphetamine for Peter Cohn, defendant Preston Cohn's brother. Terry stopped selling drugs after Peter was arrested during a traffic stop. After the arrest, Preston accused Terry of snitching on Peter. Terry agreed to continue selling drugs for Peter because he was concerned that they had accused him of being a snitch. He stopped selling drugs at the beginning of 2007. Perry Kaun, another brother, then told Terry he wanted him to sell more drugs and that Terry owed him money. At first, Perry demanded $200, and then he demanded $1,000. Terry agreed to pay these amounts because he was afraid. On several occasions, Perry and others would come to Terry's house and take things. Terry described one occasion when Perry, his brother Pongsani Kaun, and another person invaded his house. Perry struck him with a gun and others held him at knife point. They forced Terry to go with them in their car. When they arrived at their destination, Terry was beaten, kicked, punched, burned, and choked. Perry threatened to cut off his fingers and said he wanted $1,000 for each finger. Perry tried to hack off a finger with a garden tool, but Terry was able to pull away. Perry called Vutha and told him that he needed to bring them $5,000 if he wanted to see Terry again. Terry was with them for 5 hours before an unidentified woman came and took him to a drop-off point from which he walked home. Perry, Pongsani, and Boonlak Fanchan were charged with numerous offenses including kidnapping, robbery, burglary, as well as gang enhancements. Subsequently, Perry, Pongsani, and Boonlak pled guilty to kidnapping and admitted the gang allegations. Perry also pled guilty to possessing methamphetamine with intent to sell. The remaining charges were dismissed. After testifying against Perry, Pongsuni, and Boonlak at the preliminary hearing, Terry was moved out of Sonoma County, along with his father, brother Vutha, and a niece, in a witness relocation program. Following the relocation, Terry did not return to Sonoma County. However, his brother Vutha did go back against Terry's wishes. Witness 8 was an in-custody informant who testified in exchange for a reduction of his sentence. Witness 8 said he met Preston Cayun in 2006 when Witness 8 had purchased the drug ecstasy for him to sell. However, gang expert Detective Cutting explained that although Preston was on probation in 2006, there was no information that he sold drugs at that time. There was also no evidence that Preston had any prior contacts with Witness 8. Witness 8 testified that he spoke with Preston in June or July of 2008, while they both were in custody in the Sonoma County Jail. According to Witness 8, Preston told him that there was a separate case where a witness was going to testify against his brother, and that Preston had the witness killed. Preston gave Witness 8 two versions of Vutha's murder. In one version, Preston said he got Vutha to go to a party where he and 3 other people, described as 2 brothers and a Native American, later identified as co-defendant Russell, were in attendance. When Vutha arrived, Preston and the 3 others snatched him and forced him into a car. In the other version, Preston said that he and the 3 other people were waiting for a phone call from Boonlak Chanfeng, an older homie. When the group received the call from the older homie, they went to a meeting point and snatched the witness. In both versions, Preston said that he and his group used a blue Honda Accord that did not belong to him. According to Witness 8, Preston told the brothers to blindfold and gag Vutha with a sock. When they reached a parking lot in Bodega Bay, Preston pulled out his 9mm gun and gave it to Russell. Russell was reluctant to shoot, but Preston told him to stop acting like a b*** and handle that. Russell emptied the clip, firing 18 shots at Vutha. Preston retrieved the gun, wiped off the prints, and then threw it in the ocean. As they were leaving the parking lot, a park ranger pulled them over. Preston told everyone to say they were returning from a party in Bodega Bay. Cayun, Prax, and Russell received a life without the possibility for parole prison sentence. The remaining 2 individuals, Tyrone Tay and Boonlak Chanfeng, confessed to associated offenses and are currently serving prison terms of 18 and 15 years.
I'm making several waves, I know the mission is same. I made a splash, now all of my passes last like running a race with Usain. I keep it coming like this is my fame.
Southern California. Sunny beaches, beautiful people, and great weather. At its heart is Los Angeles, the most populated city in California. This is where the original Asian Boyz gang emerged in Long Beach, back in the late 1980s. The Long Beach Asian Boyz were initially composed of Cambodian refugees. There's ongoing debate regarding the precise origins of the gang, as it involved merging several gangs or individuals rather than creating a brand new group. The gang's identity fuels notable controversy, especially because the Cambodian groups are influential and distinguished as their own division of Crips. In the mid-1980s within Long Beach, Cambodian refugees established the Tiny Rascal Gang as a defense against the East Side Longos. By the late 1980s, internal conflicts led to some members breaking away to form the Long Beach Asian Boyz. This subgroup was the first of many, under the same banner. In the early 1990s, the Asian Boyz Insanity Gang integrated with the Long Beach Asian Boyz. Operating independently during the late 1980s, the Asian Boyz Insanity were active in Chinatown, Los Angeles, and the San Gabriel Valley. Comprising mainly Chinese and Vietnamese individuals, a notable incident involving the gang was the 1993 pool hall shooting in El Monte.
Is Kicker, and he walks into this El Monte pool hall with a swagger.
The news clip starts out right on location, in El Monte, California.
He feels good here. It is a hangout for his gang, the Asian Boyz, and he has a .45 caliber pistol tucked under his checkered shirt.
He is there on the screen carrying a .45.
His real name is Lay Mek, an 18-year-old Cambodian refugee with a history of weapons and violence. What he doesn't know as he stands here talking to some girlfriends is it will be his last night alive. A short time later, about 20 members of a rival gang called Wa Ching come through the door at the upper left of your TV screen. Among them, Kicker's alleged executioner. Police identify him as 18-year-old Chu Luang Yang, an Upland High School dropout who refers to himself as China Dog. You see him here wearing the white T-shirt. And according to police reports obtained by Fox News, the Wa Ching gangsters were upset because the Asian Boyz were mad-dogging them, staring at them. Witnesses say at one point there is an argument between Kicker, seen here on the left, and rival Wa Ching gang member Chris Ha. Ha says he and his friends started leaving after Kicker flashed the .45 kept at his belt. At this point, police records indicate one of the Wa Ching gangsters said, "Let's go. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I'll put a bullet in his head for you." More words were exchanged while Wa Ching backed out, one pointing at Kicker in apparent anger. Kicker paces, seems to say something in return, and rubs his hands together. A short time later, Kicker, police say still working his mouth, passes in front of several Wa Ching gangsters who have not yet left. When he turns his back, China Dog grabs him.
This seems to be the first physical contact. From this point forward, the action is on.
And throws him to the floor. As they drag him toward the door, a half-dozen Asian boys, some with pool cues, try to stop the Wa Ching attack. There is no audio on the surveillance tape, but witnesses say the room was filled with screaming and yelling. An Asian boy nicknamed Mousy even grabs a .32 caliber pistol off a nearby pool table, but it jams when he comes back and tries to fire at rival Wa Ching. Investigators believe Kicker's gun was taken from him during this struggle. About the same time, the first gunman pops through the door and fires wildly into the crowded pool hall. This teenager, who does not want to be identified, is one of 5 survivors hit by gunfire.
The bullet went from my head, but I could hear the wind, and then suddenly I feel my leg get shot.
Then, as Wa Ching coolly dragged Kicker outside, a second gunman steps through the door and starts firing. Police say it is China Dog Yang. Kicker reappears with a body tackle, but can't hold on. Gets 5 shots in his body while scrambling for cover. Then 2 fatal slugs in the head at close range.
This was a tragic incident with multiple people injured and 1 fatality. After their merger with the Long Beach Asian Boyz, the Asian Boyz Insanity established the Monterey Park Asian Boyz in the early 1990s. In the mid-1990s, the Asian Boyz Insanity and Monterey Park Asian Boyz evolved into what is now the West Side Asian Boyz. Another group that connected with the Long Beach Asian Boyz was known as the Van Nuys Asian Boyz, or Asian Boy Style, originating from Van Nuys. This gang came into existence in the late 1980s thanks to Sothi Men, the Mercado siblings, and some others. Asian Boy Style set up its base at the Valerio Garden Apartments, and its members spread across various areas of Los Angeles County. By the middle of the 1990s, the Van Nuys Asian Boy Style combined with the Van Nuys Asian Boyz, creating a unified group. An internal division surfaced within the Asian Boys group between the different factions. The S faction was mainly made up of individuals of Vietnamese descent, while the Z faction consisted mostly of Cambodians. This ethnic variance created a divide within the organization that persists today. Between 1990 and 1991, Pierre Mercado was involved in the killings of 4 people in an attempt to intimidate rival gangs. He escaped to the Philippines, where he stayed for 11 years before being sent back to the United States. In 2013, Mercado received a prison sentence of 218 years to life. In August 1997, Sothi Men, the head of the Asian Boys Van Nuys faction, was apprehended in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and returned to the United States. He faced charges for 5 murders related to gang activities in the San Fernando Valley in 1995. By September 1998, members of the Asian Boys faced accusations for 3 murders and 5 attempted murders. In 1996, the parents of 3 children in southern Kentucky were forced into their bathroom and shot in the head. They were discovered dead a few hours later, along with their 12-year-old daughter, who, despite also being shot in the head, survived. This violence was attributed to the Asian Boys gang. The shooter, 17-year-old Soful Fan, was later sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On August 12, 2006, violence erupted between the Asian Bloods and ABZ gang at a residence in Lowell, Massachusetts, during a birthday gathering. Members of the Asian Boys exited the celebration and reportedly initiated throwing bottles and other items. William Fan, who was 14 years old, started shooting at the Asian Boys, fatally wounding Samnang Oth, a member of the group. Fan was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to detention until he turned 21, followed by a 5-year probation period. In December 2006, 3 individuals from the gang faced charges for the fatal beating of Chino Vu, a 15-year-old in Utica, New York. 16-year-old Richie Nguyen received a prison sentence ranging from 5 to 15 years for manslaughter, while Samnang Cho was sentenced to 10 years for second-degree assault. In March 2011, the gang's founder, Marvin Mercado, received a life sentence for the murder of 8 individuals in the mid-1990s. The Reckless Tigers, originally from Fairfax County, Virginia, expanded across the state in 2011, distributing large quantities of marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, and prescription drugs throughout Northern Virginia. This gang is linked to California's West Side Asian Boys, and top members have been recently detained for murder. In December 2018, authorities arrested a senior member, Derek Pires, in Fall River, Massachusetts, after a shooting incident. In 2019, gang-related activity between the ABZ group and a rival Sereno gang took place in Monterey Park, California. Thankfully, this conflict did not lead to any fatalities and involved mostly Chinese American and Vietnamese members. The FBI's National Gang Threat Assessment from 2009 estimates the group's membership to be between 5,000 and 10,000 members. Initially, the gang consisted mainly of individuals from Cambodia, along with some from other Southeast Asian backgrounds. During the 1980s, the Asian Boys spread throughout the U.S., but several groups stayed in California, which remains a primary location. Each branch of the gang exhibits unique regional differences related to culture, identity, organizational structure, and ethnicity. On the West Coast, the Asian Boys adopt blue and navy as their gang colors, aligning them with the Crips from whom they drew significant influence. Their language and behavior are reminiscent of the Crips, but their attire reflects the fashion trends prevalent in the West Coast during the 1980s and 1990s. Younger members, however, tend to embrace more current fashion trends. In the Midwest and on the East Coast, along with blue and navy, they also wear forest green, black, and white. Their fashion is more aligned with a casual hip-hop style. In the Midwest, members often hail from Hmong, Burmese, Karen, and Karenni backgrounds. On the East Coast, particularly from Virginia down to Georgia, members are more frequently of Korean and Chinese descent. In Utica, many members are of Karen descent, while Massachusetts sees a significant presence of Cambodians, Vietnamese Americans, and Laotians. Tattoo markings among the Asian Boys include a dragon head with crystal balls, representing high rank, and sakyant tattoos meant to provide the bearer with power, protection, good fortune, and charisma. Additionally, there are known members in places like Indianapolis and Fort Wayne, Indiana, Minnesota, Omaha, New York, Texas, and Massachusetts, as well as within the U.S. Armed Forces. A prolonged rivalry has persisted between the Asian Boys and the Huaching gangs. The initial major confrontations occurred in December 1993 at a pool hall in El Monte. During this encounter, a member of the Asian Boys, known as Leah Mek, was fatally shot by Chiu Luongyang, a member of the Huaching gang. In another violent clash the same year in San Marino, a shootout tragically resulted in the loss of 2 young lives during a graduation party for San Marino High School in June. Following an investigation, authorities stated that Asian Boyz members, upon seeing Wah Ching members at the party, decided to depart and subsequently return armed. Subsequently, 9 gang members were apprehended, and 5 firearms were confiscated from the homes linked to those arrested. The Asian Boyz gang referred to these series of shootouts with the Wah Ching as Summer Madness.
I'm making several waves, I know the mission is same. I made a splash, now all of my past